There we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Quality of Life Committee meeting. I'm Pat Moore, Chair. Mariama James has joined us. She is the co-chair. And we also are joined by Lucian Reynolds, who's our district manager. We've got quite a full agenda for tonight. We're starting a little late at 7:30, so we're going to try to move this along as quickly and efficiently as possible. So since we have quorum, do we need to start with the budget, Lucian, or can we just go right into our agenda?
You can go right into whatever part of the agenda you want. Oh, let me pull up that. Let me change the slide. I think that's what you're getting at.
Francis. So I think that there may be quite a few parents in the here joining us for the meeting to talk about the update on the crossing guards. And I believe we should have a guest, right, Lucian?
Yes. I don't see our friends from the first precinct at the moment. So I'm not
Okay, so
sure who if you're here from the first precinct and you're an attendee, raise your hand, because I may not recognize your name. Sarah, okay. Sarah, I moved you over. You can turn on your camera and unmute yourself now.
Hey, Lucian. Hey, Pat.
who we got? Oh, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. But none of our officers are here yet.
I think Officer Miles should be joining. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I don't see anybody I recognize in the attendee section.
Okay.
In the meantime, let me just put some of the budget items on the screen.
I have Bob is trying to log on. So I don't know what you can do to help Bob.
Really, not for right now. There's not much I can do. Okay, so I have a number of things here, funding wise. I think for this committee. So what we have here are all the budget items that we requested in fiscal year 23. What we're in right now in October is the budget month where we submit our priorities to the Office of to the Department of City Planning. They package everything, and then the Office of Management and Budget will go through and poll all the city agencies and analyze the budget and see whether or not our requests are funded, and they'll give us feedback in a little bit less than a year's time. But in the meantime, all of our elected officials and city council will see what all the community boards' budget priorities are, and it's kind of the way that information filters up. So what you're seeing on the screen are a list of our priorities from last fiscal year, or last year for our last fiscal year. What I would do for this committee, because this committee doesn't really have an agency. Well, you have sanitation is housed in this committee. HPD we typically house in this committee. I would say the easiest thing for this committee to do is to propose any additional budget items that you would want. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I will look to see if that's existing, and then I'll recommend modifications at executive committee. I think that would be the most expeditious way to do that this year, because I want to have the office work for the members here and not have you have to forensically go through each one. I can do that and then make a recommendation.
I'm sorry. Can we do this at the end of the meeting so that we can
get? Yeah. I was just doing that while we're waiting for the police.
Because I also want to talk to Betty, because Betty is proposing about the cobblestones, and so I think that budget item is going into your committee, right, Betty?
It doesn't. Our committee does it differently. But nevertheless, it goes to DOT.
Right, so I think it should come out of your committee, that budget item,
It's already been entered.
the study. Okay, so we're fine with that. So we can talk about this at the end. So back to the crossing guard item, is that something we can start with, or should we start with the restaurant? I don't know who's
Yeah,
here.
I don't have anybody here from we're it's my understanding that we want to have the precinct talk about the crossing guard staffing. But if we can set it up in hopes that they arrive.
Okay, so everybody listen, 'cause items 1, which is the crossing guard, items 3, which are the vendors, both require that the police officers be here. So why don't we start with then the public restrooms?
Okay, I'll put my hand down, Pat. I was gonna say something about the crossing guard. I'll wait then.
Yeah, because if they aren't here, we can't have that discussion.
Well, what I was just gonna suggest has nothing to do with, like, they have no authority about what I was to suggest. I looked at the salary for the crossing guard at $15 and, I guess minimum wage. And I guess to me, that's almost offensive. I was, and the police department would have, they said that has nothing to do with them. So
Right.
if anybody else might be interested in, writing something where, like, somebody who's going to look after the life of our children, to me, is worth more than minimum wage.
All right, well, can we discuss it when we get to that, when we get to the
Yes,
topic?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the meantime, Sarah is still here, so one thing we can do, Sarah, where are you? Do I see, did I lose Sarah?
I'm here.
Anyway, I see you. So Sarah, you wanted to just talk about some of the crime that's going on in the community, but do you want to wait until our officers are with us?
I really do. And then I have a couple of ideas. I've been speaking with Trish
Okay.
regarding the crossing guards too. So I
Okay,
have,
so let's
so-
hold
yeah.
let's hold both of those. So let's
Okay.
go then to Pier 17. So we all know that we have an issue in New York City about with public bathrooms. Betty and I took a little tour around Pier 17 a couple of months ago when there was an event actually happening at Pier 17, and we tried to go to a restroom, and we weren't allowed to go to a bathroom unless we had a ticket for the event that was happening. So then we were directed to go to the public bathroom that's under the highway, which Sarah, you actually said is Industry Kitchen's bathroom. Is it their
It's
bathroom?
not, it's Parks and Recreational bathroom, but I think it's serviced by Howard Hughes. They clean it and they give them toilet paper, but the Parks Department is the one that opens it and closes it. So question I have for you, Pat, when you did this was before the Tin Building was opened until 10 p.m. because they have bathrooms there.
That was right before they
Got it.
opened.
Got it.
So they're open until 10,
Yeah.
and the public bathroom I think closed at 5:30. Betty, was it 5:30 or 6:30? Do you remember?
Now that you say it, I can't, was not a 30, it was on the hour, but it was closed when we went, so.
Yeah, so it was 5 or 6 o'clock it closed. So that
And
meant
it was,
that
it was deadbolt locked.
so
And
that
that's
meant that-
that's the Parks Department, and I think one of the issues we've been having with public bathrooms in that area, it's when I don't know if you recall when that whole murder happened around there, and there's a lot of homeless. That's the issue that they had with the public bathrooms in that area.
I don't really care about that.
so
There
that's
were a
why-
bunch of people who needed to go to the toilet, and the fact was they couldn't. There's no fear that's justifiable to me, for closing them. Especially when it was the police night's national night out, and they had it held there and had all the bathrooms locked up in advance of the completion. That was kind of crazy, beyond crazy.
So Francis, can you hold? Or I want to see what Lucian wanted to present. Or do you want to say something before Lucian does whatever presentation?
It's concerning the whole. I have a question about the bathroom because I know there's that public bathroom, but on where the watermark, the bar is, because I have an issue with that whole layout because there's a bar restaurant there and there's no restroom in the bar area. You have to walk all the way to the end of the pier closer to the street, and there's only one bathroom there. So I don't know if you guys are including that in your survey and what the issue is, because that should, if the bar restaurant is open,
Betty
serving
and I were not
patrons and
offered
stuff.
that as an option.
they shouldn't be closed. But there is that bathroom, and I had issue with that because there's only one bathroom, and it's a big restaurant, and there's a lot of people that walk by there. So anyway, I don't know whether that bathroom is included in your whole conversation, or if Lucian has
We were
any
not offered that
comments.
bathroom when we tried to find a open bathroom. But I still think, let's let Lucian, Mariama, I see Mariama's hand and I see Mitch's hand. You want to say something now? Or you want to wait until Lucian has done whatever presentation he has?
I
Okay, I
wanted,
didn't realize he was going to do a presentation. I can wait. Sure.
I wanted to say something quick to piggyback on what Betty said, which is kind of what we had brought up a while ago. An attendant at one of the bathrooms would solve the safety problem and take away the excuse of not keeping it open, and that's something that could be a minimum wage job. So that's something I think that if we can kind of try to reinforce.
Okay. So Lucian?
Thanks, Pat. Let me share my screen. Why am I not? Here it is. Okay, so after we sent a couple complaints to Howard Hughes Corporation in the earlier months before it started getting warm, Sol Cheryl sent Tammy and me, and I think maybe Alice, a memo from Howard Hughes Corp. It's about rooftop and restroom public access on Pier 17. Now, if you attended last month's land use, zoning, and economic development meeting, you would have seen my presentation about evaluating the access that is promised per this memo against what is required by the restrictive declaration to the deed. That was a result of the large scale general development zoning changes via ULURP that would allow really specific information to be written into the deed. So it's a really strong document. And the verdict was that the public space at the ground floor on the outdoor area was held very closely to the standard. I would say they met the word of the deed and their memo. On the rooftop, there were some other issues. It's not for me to say whether they're minor or major, but I did send I was with city planning when I did my inspection, so they saw what I saw, and I sent them my findings. So they have my official report on that, and I gave my report to the committee. Now, I did not inspect the bathrooms, but I am told there's lots. I mean, I have been told by many different people their own experiences and challenges given the bathroom situation, and how many public restrooms are available on the east side, and it's kind of the haphazard closings. It feels like. So I want to show you what they've set in August, in terms of what their official policy is for restroom access. So on normal days, it's 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's approximately the fourth floor of rooftop restrooms. That's approximately that's the same hours as the rooftop. The event days. This is kind of like when they have something going on the roof. They say that they're going to close those during the event. So the restrooms are open until they're not open, essentially. So you'd have to kind of have knowledge of when the event is, and then how ahead of time they decide to close them when the event starts. Even though the rooftop is supposed to be available during the event. So that's, I don't know if they can rope off the restroom from the public access area on the rooftop, when the rooftop is technically supposed to be open. So that's something for city planning as well, and I will bring that to their attention, because I kind of never had to figure the two, because I was really more looking at the rooftop access. I'm going to pull up the restrictive declaration. Here's the thing about the restricted declaration. It speaks to the public access area and the outdoor portion. I'm just scrolling quickly because you'll see I have the rooftop stuff really noted. They talk about the benches, the pavement, the signage. This is very specific as to what needs to be provided in the outdoor public areas. Get to the roof part. Okay, so the roof access area, I in my presentation, I really kind of walk through all this, but I unfortunately don't see anything about bathroom access in this restrictive declaration. There's a lot about the rooftop and when it can be open and when it's not open. But unless I missed it, I don't see anything about providing bathroom access. Now, that could be a separate agreement. I mean, it sounds like, they're providing, they're either cleaning and or providing materials for the bathrooms that are beneath the highway. So there could be, a different set of agreements that speak to bathroom access. But I don't have that. I don't have access to those agreements. So I can't speak to what they're not providing per those agreements. But I do know that there is a weird rub in the rooftop access and the bathroom access. So,
And I recall during our conversations with them, when all the, planning and negotiations were going on, that they were going to, I don't remember them saying they would close because I thought that actually it was a question I had asked, that would they close the bathrooms on the rooftop when they had an event? And I thought they said does anybody else remember this? I thought they said they'd have the bathrooms open the time that the roof was supposed to be open, whether they had an event or not.
They can, because of the way that the escalators go and the bathrooms are on a lower floor than the event. So from my recollection, in terms of the layout, there's a way that they could just change the entrance to the rooftop to another way and just have limited access to the bathrooms. But also, it's not true. They on rooftop event days, it doesn't matter, because I was there and it was during the day and it wasn't an event. It was during the day, and they said I couldn't have access to the bathrooms upstairs, and I had just finished eating at a restaurant, downstairs, and I wanted to go upstairs because I knew there were bathrooms upstairs, and they said, no, you can't have access to the bathrooms upstairs. And I was like, are you kidding? And they told me that I had to use the restaurant and the bathroom, bathroom in the restaurant that I had just come from. But I asked a question because I knew we were going to be dealing with this in
that's
terms
smart.
of access. In terms of access.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Anyway.
And I didn't note it when I went up there, but looking at the schematic here, you see this the overhead, the area that is in green, that's the public rooftop access area. That's kind of bracketed in the green, and then the blue is the area that they're allowed to close when there's an event. Otherwise, that area is supposed to be open to the public as well. So it's only supposed, the majority of the year it's supposed to be open, not all the time closed. So the question is, so only seeing two bulkheads. Where's the bathroom on the roof? Because they speak to a rooftop bathroom. If the bathroom is in the area where the public is supposed to be able to have access all the time, then I don't see why they would close
There
it.
isn't any, Lucian, there isn't any bathroom on the rooftop.
Because
the only bathroom is
the fourth floor restrooms. And that I take that to be the restrooms that are on just below the roof level.
Yes.
But the rooftop, then they have rooftop restrooms.
But the bathrooms on the rooftop are in the bar that's on the roof.
There isn't any bathrooms on
There
the roof.
isn't
There
any
isn't.
bathroom.
There
aren't
isn't.
any
The
bathrooms
bar
up
doesn't
there.
have any bathrooms.
No,
Okay.
everything is
I
down on the
just-
fourth floor.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just took this to mean that there were two sets of bathrooms.
The other public bathrooms are the ones by the restaurant that is called Dante's. They keep on changing its name. That's the one that whenever there's an event, we were always directed to that one, and
Okay.
that's always open all the time.
On the
Okay.
main floor, right?
Yeah, that's open, and you don't have
Yeah.
to be in a restaurant. The other thing I recall in many meetings, they had always said if there's an event, they had expected the Tin Building to open way more like earlier. And they said, well, it's a moot point because if we have an event, the Tin Building is going to be open like from 8 to 10 p.m. and there are public bathrooms there. So that was in like maybe whenever they were talking about this. Just one more question. Lucian, was there a discussion with the Parks Department? Because they are the ones that control that bathroom that Betty mentioned that was locked. That's the Parks Department. They're the ones that control that. And we've had issues with the open space because which is over the watermark and the bathrooms. They're the ones that they have the access to it.
Yeah. I'm not, I haven't spoken to Parks, though I won't be surprised that they would lock them when the last maintenance workers shift ends.
But I think we have to.
It's very Parks, and it's how they run most of their comfort stations within the parks. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me. I'm not saying that it's optimal. It would be good to come up with a better maintenance partnership where these are really far in between types of assets that the community would be very served to have them open much later.
And in the warm weather, there are lots of people that are
Right.
there, walking, strolling along and under the highway
Right.
and biking. And for that bathroom to close at, say, 6 o'clock, that's crazy. There are people there that it stays light for a long time. People are out all evening
Right.
and, to close the
Yeah.
bathroom, as well as the problem with the homeless, which we need to talk to our officers about. But in the meantime, because, okay, so granted, the Tin Building is open, and I guess, Sarah, the Tin Building will not stop anyone, even if you don't purchase anything. You can just
Yeah.
go in and use the bathroom. It's
Yes.
ADA accessible. There's no problem. Do you know how many stalls there are?
I mean, I only went to one. I wasn't counting the others, but there were plenty of bathrooms.
Right. So, but there's no signage though that says.
That said, I think that's the discussion should be there should be clear signage of where
Right.
to go. I think that's the issue. Just let's have like a better signage, clearer signage of where should people absolutely go. And the officers have come on. They're in the meeting now, Pat.
Okay.
I'll just I think a lot's been said on this. I'll just say that the suggestion about signage resembles something that I also suggested, and I think it's a good suggestion that all times and access information and what should be is provided per the restrictive declaration, per the memo, whatever is the most accurate thing that we're working off of, that needs to be relayed via signage, and because people should be able to point to an employee and say, no, I can do this because of this sign. Because sometimes the best read would be that the employee maybe doesn't know, security guard maybe doesn't know, but even if they don't, if the sign says has to unless something is going on, X, Y, Z going on, then that protects the public's access to what's been promised to the public.
And in terms with Betty and I, we asked more than one person. We spoke to a security guard, but we also remember Betty, we asked at least 2 people, and they both pointed us to the public bathroom under the highway. They said we were not allowed to access the bathroom upstairs. So anyway, what do you suggest we do with this before we move on? Mariama, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to comment and ask a question before too. From when we started, I just was waiting for Lucian to complete his presentation. So first, actually, let me preface my comment by saying, as one of the residents from the East Side, the West Side has its Brookfield that provides all these things, with regard to quality of life or whatever. And Howard Hughes, like them, dislike them, or be indifferent to them, that's who provides hours on the east side. So I just do want to say, before I make my comments about the bathroom, that they have done a number of things, very positive things to contribute to our quality of life. On the east side, past weekend was the Taste of the Seaport, which benefits all the local schools. I was able to participate in a meditation about a week ago that was facilitated by Deepak Chopra. That was free, on the rooftop. They've, brought a number of artists, including, I don't know if you guys remember, but, not only recently, but if you guys remember, during the Occupy City Hall, some of us had met an artist there that had made a George Floyd painting out of people's handprints, people that were passing by, and the Seaport featured him last year. This was essentially one of the homeless people that was living in our area, and the Seaport featured him for like a month. So before I come down on them, I just want to make sure that, I also say that there's a lot of really good things coming out of Howard Hughes in terms of quality of life that I appreciate as an East Side resident of the district. That said, the rooftop does not have a bathroom. I've attended events, concerts, even on like their super, like the highest level of VIP ticket that they had available, and there was no bathroom on the fourth floor, even under those on the rooftop, even under those circumstances. You go down to the fourth floor for the bathroom, and it's a very large bathroom and a very nice bathroom, but if we're unable to occupy it, otherwise that's problematic. Also, the 10 building closes at 9, not 10, which, may matter to some people depending upon what the situation is. And I was with Tammy and Francis the night. Oh, that was another one of the wonderful free things that we got to do. We got to tour the Danmark, which was this ship that came from, I think it was Sweden, somewhere in like, what do they call that? And like the Nordic
Okay.
territories.
Copenhagen.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. And so that was really great. And after we disembarked from the boat, we went to look for the bathrooms. And we went to several places before being told, okay, you can go upstairs inside this restaurant to the second or third floor, whatever it was. So, that obviously was an issue. And unfortunately for them, I guess Tammy was with us too. So, and she was the one that was told like, nope, everywhere we went. So, if there's going to be a resolution or whatever to ensure that they fulfill whatever obligations not only are in this agreement, but that they should otherwise meet just in terms of like human decency, that people need to use the bathroom. I, of course, am going to support the resolution, but I just wanted to say those other things too. And to ask, like, were they asked to come here and they didn't show up? Or was this just something that we were doing between us?
Yeah,
No,
we're just doing it between us.
we asked them to be present and observe the conversation.
You did. I'm sorry. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They reached out. They said, "Hey, we saw this on the agenda," and they said, "Well, we're going to discuss what we saw, and we'd like, for you to observe that." So they're observing this, and so like they did when we had this at LZE, and I gave my presentation on my inspection with DCP of the rooftop access area. So that's but really this goes into the hands of city planning. I'll write to city planning and say we had a discussion about bathrooms. I don't have any access to any agreements about the bathrooms, so I don't recommend a resolution because I have nothing to evaluate the present access against, because it's not in the restrictive declaration that I can find. So, I don't think that, until I find a better, a commanding document about this, I don't think we can truly evaluate that. But city planning may be able to. So,
And Lucia, can we ask Howard Hughes then to come and really clarify for us when we can use the bathroom on the fourth floor, the public, and when we can't?
the memo. I think this memo, and I'll pull it up. I think this is their clarification to us I think this is their official clarification for the public access. Now, the restaurant level, it's not mentioned here. This is really specific to the public access areas and the rooftop access areas. So, but the bathroom access, there's rooftop event days, and then there's
But number
regular
one,
operating days.
everyone's
So
saying there isn't a bathroom on the rooftop. So if the wording is,
that may be my misreading of it. So a couple people made clear that I may kind
I
of
mean,
be
it
double
does say
counting.
that there, but yeah.
says
Yeah, that's pretty
rooftop,
clear, Lucian. Fourth floor and rooftop.
Yeah. So it sounds like it could be clear in the writing, but there is no. From what people are telling me, there's no bathroom in the rooftop. I didn't look for a bathroom, so I can't speak to that. I'm not. So, but this is their clarification to us.
So, Lucian, now the concert series is going to end in a week. So I think maybe it would be a good idea just to talk to them and just say, hey, everybody's going to have access probably until July of 2023. I think that's when they start the events and they close it and figure out a way. But I wanted to echo what Mariana said, and it's actually, it's for us as families who live on the east side, it's the safest place and there's a lot of events that they have done a lot of great things for our quality of life. And it's just a matter of just trying to figure out with them from now until July of 2023, what are the options? And maybe at that point, the Tin building is opened longer, and then we can, then we'll have that solution. But definitely we need signage. And you're right, Pat, the 9 out of 10 of people who work there, honestly, they're all new hires and they have no idea about anything. So the signage is really important.
so maybe I don't, about this, I'm tongue tied. So Lucian, do you think we just need to get on the phone and have a conversation with somebody?
Yeah, we can always invite them to come and talk about bathrooms. That they can clarify what other additional agreements they have and why they provide toilet paper for the parks bathrooms. Like, is that per an agreement or is that a donation or how does that work? More sunlight on that would be great. But
and you know what? If
I also encourage you all to, once this event series is over, to spot check and then write me what happens. So visit the rooftop, see if you can access the entire rooftop at 9:30 p.m. And see if you can access the restroom at 9:30 p.m. When it's supposed to be open, when there's no events going on. Public spaces are best when people are using them and notoriously using them and making sure that the private owners of these Pops like spaces know that we're using them and telling city planning what we're finding, because they're only supposed to be closed when there's an emergency or if they're doing some sort of security sweep. So if they're not doing either of those, these spaces shouldn't be closed off. The bathroom, notwithstanding, I again, I need to ask. I'll ask them for any additional agreements and backstory to that. But yeah, I can ask them to come in a future month. That's no problem.
And we want to talk about signage, so we need to find out how and who and should be doing the signage.
And this Parks Department thing, does that have to go to Paul? Or can we do something about that?
Yeah, I mean, like you all are kind of the bathroom experts, but it is a parks facility, so maybe you Pat should talk to Paul and Andrew and figure out how to work that out.
I want to move on, but the thing about it too, Mariama, is that if Howard Hughes is supplying toilet paper, so they're interacting with the Parks Department and this bathroom, maybe going to Mitch's comment, maybe we could talk to them about supplying an attendant for this bathroom to increase the hours.
Security or something. Yeah,
So
that's fair. I'd support that. Yeah,
because I want our officers who now are here to be able to engage with us, and then. But Francis and Betty,
just
your hands
one
up.
more comment about the watermark and the fact that it overlaps into licensing, because that's they have a liquor license and they're supposed to have facilities for people to go to the bathroom. And I'm telling you, when we were evaluating them, that was always my issue with them in terms of having the appropriate number of bathrooms there. And plus we had issues with the offloading and loading of people for the boat rides, the horn blower and stuff like that. And there was always a whole bunch of people there, and being able to have a facility, for people, to go to the bathroom, like I said, was always my concern.
So
So
Fran,
that would be another reason why the other public bathroom, how could it close at 6 o'clock? If it's supposed to be for the watermark as well, and it's a bar that's open until 1 o'clock in the morning, where do people go to the bathroom? So in
so
terms
Francis,
of, yes,
I think we need to talk, you need to look up the agreement with the
the
watermark and
exactly,
see
yeah,
what
and yeah,
was agreed
I
upon with
will
them.
definitely. Okay.
All right, so let's get that done and then come back and have a talk about that. And then Betty, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, but as someone from the Public Toilet Working Group, I can't emphasize enough. Details are never given about bathrooms that are very specific. And in fact, given that there's a piece of legislation looking to wind its way through City Council now, asking agencies to start to put together not only where the public toilets are, but what the hours are and what they have amenities, such as do they have an accessible stall? Do they have a changing table? Some of the very basic things, because that information is not out there either. And so I question, because especially since this document on the screen now talks about the rooftop restroom, obviously this is incorrect information. So even going to Howard Hughes, I would ask him to clarify specifically about the bathrooms that are available to the public, their locations, their amenities, and their hours. Because it's not clear on this document, even if that was the intention, they didn't succeed. So if we at least get that redone specific to the bathrooms.
So
And
that's why
Francis,
we'll
good
invite
luck
them to
with,
come. We'll
yeah, and
invite
good
them
luck
to
with the
come too.
SLA.
Okay. I think Mimi and then Diane.
I just wanted to mention that I was on the rooftop at the beginning of July, and they said that there wasn't an event happening in that blue space, but that we weren't allowed to be over there unless we were going to buy a drink and what felt like rent one of the little spaces that they had there, which didn't feel appropriate for a space where we're supposed to have public access. Was that considered an event?
I don't know, maybe, but again, we're going to ask them to come, hopefully
Okay.
next month, so that we can have this bathroom discussion, both about what bathrooms they have available to the public and when, signage for the Tin Building, and whether they can help with the public bathroom that's under the highway. All right, so let's save some of these for next month. Diane?
I thought I thought I saw something about, scroll down about that it being closed off on events, but
Enough,
I don't know.
Diane.
I thought I'd seen it and now fourth, they remain closed to the public during the event. Anyway, I thought there was something in there about it. It wasn't highlighted though. Fourth floor restrooms open until security sweep is performed. They remain closed to the public during the event and reopen the following morning.
Yeah, well, that's why we need to have,
The
I mean,
events-
obviously, I mean, they're making it kind of clear what their intentions are, but I think we should have a discussion anyway and see why we can't get to, since there's a way to rope off and isolate and segregate the public from the people attending the event. I don't see why they can't do that so that people can still access the public bathrooms. But we'll talk about this hopefully next month if they can send if Howard Hughes can send a representative. So I want to really move on. Can we wrap up this discussion for tonight? It's already 8:09. We don't want to be here all night. Okay. Diane, put your hand down, please. Okay, so we're going to move on to the crossing guard issue. And Lucian, so my understanding is that we don't have any crossing guards down here.
Well, we have officers Ford and Corrado with us tonight, so
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Sorry, we were a little late.
That's okay.
Having us.
You saw we were in the bathroom discussion.
it's okay. We were all in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start off with it. With the
Yeah.
crossing guard issue, we have been on top of it. Unfortunately, it's not like a police officer where you can pull a police officer and just move them anywhere you want throughout the city. The crossing guards do have the option to work in their area. We can't force a crossing guard to commute to the area since they only work a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon to have the kids get in safely and leave safely. And there's a large gap between those two shifts that they have. But I can tell you that Angela, our crossing guard supervisor, actually I found this out today, this week, she was out. She went to all the schools. She went to a bunch of apartment buildings in the area. She even went up into the housing projects up in the 5th and 7th precinct to distribute flyers to try to get somebody to sign up and to come down to our schools in our area. So it is something we're working on, but like I said, it's not a resource thing where we can just move somebody like a traffic agent or like a police officer to a different area.
Okay, so, but my understanding, and I get that, my understanding is that since the construction is starting at the school across the street from the Jewish Museum, what's the number that, Justine?
Sorry, 276.
276. So that they, because they have a special circumstance now with construction happening, that they are really in dire need of having a crossing guard there. And so I believe that you or someone spoke to Tammy and that was it at all possible to get a police officer to be there?
I mean, we've been trying there and also at PS 150 over on Trinity, both locations. We've been trying to have our youth officers change their shifts. We've been trying to have our traffic officers kind of change their shifts to kind of fill in and supplement. We've been doing our best. I mean,
We've even been outreaching to local, retail establishments, seeing if they have anybody, or spread the word at least. If you folks have anybody that you know that would be interested in it, you know, it does offer benefits, pay. You know, we try to highlight the perks, I guess, of it. But we've been going into local retail establishments, seeing if any of the employees who maybe aren't benefit eligible, if that kind of could be a take. They're close to the area anyway. So we're kind of exhausted. It's just unfortunately the outreach, we haven't gotten the response that we've wanted. And as Officer Ford said, we can't just force people. I think there is some sort of a right that they have. Like they could say they could deny the assignment, whereas a police officer, you know, just by the nature of the job, you're obligated to go wherever we would assign you.
Right. And so we can't get a police officer there. Is that what you're saying?
So we have been. Captain Smith's been very receptive to it. He understands the issue. Obviously, child safety, student safety, just pedestrian safety. That's a very important part of our mission, right? Pedestrian struck, Vision Zero. That's been a very important topic for some time now. So we are looking to address it on a permanent basis. So we are backfilling with our offices, but we want that permanent response where a person who has that as their job, they're going to they're going to own it, you know, like that's going to be their assignment. They're going to take pride in that, as our offices are, but our offices also have other obligations that they have to go to. So we are using them as a backfill component, but we want to, you know, we really want to be more successful in our
outreach efforts.
Retention of school crossing guards.
I also want to suggest that maybe our local newspapers might want to run some story about this and see if that would help with the outreach that maybe one of our residents in the community might be willing to take on, you know, this become our official, you know, go to the training, do what they have to do.
Sure.
So Justine, I'm looking at you, and I don't know if Matthew's behind you, but
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I will push that out to him as a story to write. And that makes sense. And I was hearing, and I'm glad you mentioned PS 150 as well. So it's 150 and 276. Not that the other schools anyplace else in the city don't have the need, but those two particularly are problematic because there is just no space at PS 150 for the outside, and you're familiar with it, I think. But and then at 276 with the construction being planned, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare zone there.
I'll
So
also,
Pat, can I ask Sergeant Corrado something?
Yeah, Justin, are you done?
Oh,
I'm
I'm
done.
sorry,
Go ahead, Mitch. Go ahead, Mitch.
Sergeant Corrado. I agree with everything you said, but I think, and this is probably not in your purview, but pedestrian safety and child safety should not be a minimum wage job, and that might be something that maybe the higher ups could
Oh,
try.
Mr. Pro, I could totally agree with you. When
Right.
I actually saw the city health benefits, I guess, that's
Right.
like the sales, the sales tag. I am completely
I mean, most of them are
I-
not going to get the health benefits because they'd have to work 5 days a week, four to 5 days a week, and so
I totally agree. I don't,
so-
I don't understand why that position is. I'm not, a city.
no, I know it's not to you. We're on the same side.
I totally agree with you. I think the pay is, and there's also their scheduling. There's like a gap in between
Right.
too. So some of them also say like I work for 2-3 hours, then I go home. That's why they want to be close to home. And I'm
Right.
assuming maybe, I don't know why that gap exists between the shifts. I mean, because there
Yeah.
are probably other ways you could use those resources. Like, hey, we'll pay you throughout. and
Right.
maybe
You're
allocate you
keeping
to
them on
watch
retainer.
schools or do a neighbor, and like, maybe instead of just a school crossing guard, you're a crossing guard at that high traffic area. I totally
Right.
agree with you.
And the other thing is, where so maybe somebody can only get to 17 or 18 hours a week, so they can, combine the hours. So maybe like over a month, like once you get to be over the 20 hours a week, you
Right.
get some of the benefits. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and first is a question: do you need to show citizenship or legal papers for this hiring?
That I would have to find out. I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to give you
No, I
a
understand,
wrong answer.
because I'm sure that if there was a way around it, I think there might be a better opportunity of getting some, some family members that might be afraid to apply for some of these things. That would
Sure.
be wonderful crossing guards because their children are in the schools, so that might be also something to investigate.
I'm going to absolutely make a note of that. So we'll find out about citizenship. The
Right.
pencil, that's definitely a step above my pay grade. I'm
Yeah.
a big advocate of paying everybody more. So,
Right. No, but
um,
the citizenship,
We're
because
also
I
gonna
know,
reach out to the newspapers,
right, and just like
the local newspapers.
you don't have to be a citizen to get certain IDs in New York City now.
Right.
So maybe that might be a way to get a few of those people that maybe are afraid to apply for some of these things that
Right.
might pay more than selling, like
Good idea,
food
Mitch.
on the street.
I agree.
Mitch, you done? Can we move on? Because we're trying
Yes,
to
ma'am.
beat the
Yes, I'm
clock.
sorry. Thank you,
That's
Pat.
all right, thank you. Put your hand down, please.
I'm just gonna
Yes.
throw in there real quick, Pat, if you don't mind.
Who is this? Oh, Officer,
Frank.
yes, hi.
I just got the recruiting flyer for the crossing guards today. Lucian, I'll send that to you, and then you can blast it out to everybody. It has all the info on there. It has the website to look on, the number you can call. It's got all the information. I'll send that to you. Then if you can blast it out to the full email chain,
Great. Sure.
Got it.
I'll send that to you once we're
Yeah.
off.
I think for this role, we don't need it emailed. I'll get someone print them out because most of the folks that we're trying to attract will not have email access. So I
No,
think
but
going to,
our CB
yeah.
list, we can blast it out to them.
Yeah.
Up
And
there.
then print it out. And I love the idea of the retail because Lower East Side has plenty of them, of crossing guards. It's our area that has a huge problem for the 3 remaining schools, 276, 234, and Trinity. So we'll start sending those around and going to the businesses.
Before Jill, you speak, is Trisha on the call?
Let me check the attendee section really quick in case she's stuck in there.
I don't see
Don't
She
see
may
her.
want to say
I
something.
don't see her.
No? Okay. So then Jill?
Oh, yeah. So, speaking as someone whose grandmother was a crossing guard, and obviously, if we had any kind of affordable housing in this community, we might be able to find workers who didn't have to commute so far. Maybe put signs up actually in the school. There could be parents who go to the school every morning and afternoon anyway, who might be able to take advantage.
Well, for that matter, I think the PTA should be contacted, but I'm sure, I
Yeah.
think they, they have been, but the
We've actually
PTA,
done,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
actually done in-person outreaches, where we've had our youth officers go to the schools, specifically set up a table. It's got an NYPD banner on it, handing out flyers to at arrivals and dismissals. I don't have the exact number of how many we've done, but I've personally been on scene for at least a couple of them. And again, some people take the flyers, they say they're going to pass them along. It's just, again, back to we haven't gotten the response that we wanted, but we are out there in person explaining some of the pros of the position.
Right,
Thank you, Sergeant.
The principals have them and the PTAs have them also.
right. Thank you. So I don't know what else to tackle about this crossing guard issue. It looks like you're doing as much as you can.
We're trying.
Again, we're going to try to get the local papers involved. Any other suggestions anyone else has?
Pat, I
So-
have one
Hands up.
recommendation.
Oh, sorry.
I have one recommendation. A budget item calling for a massive raise in the pay for crossing guards.
Yes.
If we don't have that already, then that should be added.
I think that makes sense. I thought we added it in youth and ed, but I think that makes total sense. Yes.
And maybe also to bank the hours, so to make the health benefits more attainable.
Yeah. Or to guarantee that if you take the job, you're guaranteed the 20 hours, at least 20 hours, unless you say no, right?
Yeah, or
I mean,
some-
they want you to have 20 hours a week to qualify for benefits.
Officer
If you
Ford,
say yes,
20
then you should get it to 5 days a week, right?
21 hours will get you health benefits, at least for community boards, as far as I know. But on the flyer, Officer Ford, does it say health benefits?
It
It
says
says
20
20.
hours, Lucy,
Yeah.
20
That's-
hours
that's-
for the week.
Yeah. Well, I think 20 hours, 21 hours.
Well,
It's pretty
but-
close
It's just
to
hard to
mine.
get, right? If you're doing
Lu-
2
Lucy,
hours a
you-
day,
Okay, wait, everybody's talking at the same time.
I'm sorry.
Motion.
Yeah.
On the flyer, I'm looking at it right now in the background. It says 15.45 an hour to start, health benefits available, work close to home, summer work opportunities. That's what it says on the flyer. Then it has the email address, you can the website you can look at, and the phone number you can call.
Okay.
Officer Ford, it says 20 plus hours per week for health benefits.
yeah, I went to the website and looked at it and it says
Okay.
20 hours a week.
Well, we don't need to keep debating. We can, the thing right
Just,
now.
just one quick thought. Hit up the retirees also because they have Medicare and and may be looking for some supplemental income.
I don't
So
know how
maybe
you
go
find
to-
them as a group, a segregated group, though.
Well, go to the,
I do.
the
The senior
I'll email
network,
it to
I
Mary
know
Ann
how to do
Braverman.
that. Yep. I know who to reach out to.
Okay, so then I think that everybody should send their suggestions
Yeah.
in and let's circulate it.
Yeah, that
That
makes
group
sense.
actually may prefer to keep their salary down because if they're on Social Security, they're not going to want to earn more than a certain amount of money. They're going to want to
may
keep their
not.
salary limited.
That might,
That's
yeah,
good
it's
because you're
still
not
up
making
to
a heck of
them.
a lot of money.
All right, can we move on past this topic? We've got other issues that we'd like to speak to our officers about. So anything else about the crossing guards? I don't know what else to say. We will circulate. We will try to do what we can here at the community board. If you have any other suggestions about crossing guards, please send an email to Lucian. Lucian, were you suggesting that we write a reso to propose increasing the pay?
No. I think you could just submit it as we'll make sure it's in our budget requests, and then
Okay.
that goes out as part of. It's officially a resolution that it passes. So you'll be able, if we write letters, it'll be a position of the board. So
One real quick thing I can tell you from talking to some of the crossing guards is they were hoping to be moved over to the Department of Education because they would get, from what they've told me, is better pay, better benefits, and probably more hours. Be able to work with the Department of Education if they weren't under the NYPD umbrella, if they were under the Department of Education umbrella instead.
A question though. So then would they be paid by the Department of Education? Would that impact the Department of Education's budget?
Yes.
So maybe, maybe the Department of Education doesn't want them.
Again, that's way above my pay grade. I know there's a lot of the crossing guards themselves would like to be moved
Right.
over and under that umbrella, but that's above my pay grade to
But that is an
actually
issue.
move them.
So, Yeah.
Well, then we have to pay you more, Officer Ford.
All right, so let's move on. So now we've got, first of all, let's talk to Sarah about what's been going on in the community. And Tammy and I had a conversation about this also. So Sarah, go ahead, you're on. Does everyone know Sarah? Sarah is the president
No.
of, no? Okay, Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself? Could you hear? Are you muted?
Sarah, you're on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute, Sarah.
Yep. I still don't hear you. Sarah is the president of the council, the First Precinct Community Council, but she's going to introduce herself in a minute as soon as she finds how to unmute herself. You were doing well there for a while. Well, while she's looking.
Hold on. No, my computer, everything was updating suddenly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, when it does that. Anyway, you're on.
Hi, I'm the president of the Community Council of the First Precinct, and I'm a member at large with the youth and education. That's why I got involved with the Crossing Guard. I've been living down here in the Seaport Fidei area for the past now 20 years. And I've been heavily involved within the community during that time. I was the PTA president at Spruce for 8 years. I have 2 kids. One just went to college and the other is a high schooler in the Lower East Side. So and I work with Pat a lot and I enjoy it.
So you wanted to bring up, thank you, I enjoyed it also.
I want to bring up the crime. One of the things we are seeing now that people are not reporting crimes, and we've had a couple of incidents where they think they reported, but they actually, and then when you investigate, they haven't reported it. And so we are not capturing a lot of things. And we've had a couple of incidents across the street with a homeless individual who was acting erratically, and people thought that the folks at the Starbucks reported it, but nobody did. And then by the time they did, he had smashed somebody in the head on Columbus Day with a stick that he was walking with. So we've been seeing a lot of these types of issues, and we want to tell people, you know, the old saying the police had for a long time, if you see something, say something. There isn't any crime that is too small, and people need to report it because they report it on social media without them having any type of foundation, and that has been the big issue. And a lot of it has become coming in from the mentally disturbed. I don't want to call them homeless, but they tend to be. But that's what has been happening recently. And how do we tell the community to report what they see? When I was in a liquor store in Battery Park, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, a guy came in, stole a bunch of things, and the cashier said, there's nothing I could do about it because it seems, you know, nobody's going to come or help. And it's just becoming a way of life, which it shouldn't be.
And I also asked you if she had, because if she had film of the guy, if there was a camera in the store, then the police could use the film to at least have a description of this person.
Exactly. I told her, why, you know, report it. She goes, I'm on my own. I don't want any problems, him coming back and hurting me. And I understand that. So, yeah.
So you know, Tammy brought this up also. Mariama, you were on that email where we have had people not reporting. And yes, people may have various reasons for not reporting, but unfortunately, if you don't report, it, number one, leaves the person free to go and harass or hurt the next person. It doesn't let the community and the police be aware that there is an issue and maybe get a description so that people can be on the lookout for that person. So we kind of need to figure out how to get the word out to the community that it's really important to report incidents when they happen.
And they need to also call like 311 because 311 is a fantastic way just to keep record. Because if we keep on reporting to 311 and when we ask for more foot patrol or police, they always say, well, your crimes are low relatively to other parts of the city, which is like might not be true. So we need to tell people, call 311 and then call the police or do them
Get some
simultaneously.
statistics. Yeah, yeah. So officers, do you want to say anything?
I can say
Yeah. Oh.
I can
So-
say that the liquor store, our NCOs actually went to the liquor store to speak to the owners, and they said the same thing. They said, "Yeah, we'd rather not call. Like, if you're having a chronic issue, you have to let us know." And they said, "We don't want to cause any problems." I said, "You're not causing problems for us. This is what we're getting paid to be here for." And they said, "Yeah, we'd really just rather not call." So I don't know what the solution is. Even our uniform officers went there and spoke to them, and they still said the same exact thing that Sarah just said. They said, we'd rather not."
But then they go on social media and they all gripe about it.
Yes.
You know?
I don't
Maybe
know
the
what the solution is.
And a lot of, I mean, that's a smaller retail, but some of the other stores, you know, like if people have been in Dwayne Reed's, you know, some of them don't have they have a reporting threshold, if you will. So like if a guy goes in and steals a minimal amount, they may not, that's under their reporting threshold. And we try to tell them too, listen, you know, small things add up. So maybe, you know, I understand you have your internal protocols, but you also want to keep us apprised of everything, you know,
Not
so.
only that, they
We
have
all-
cameras in the store, don't they? So that you could identify the person.
Correct. And we've done, I mean, again, not to go into like great specifics, but we've done operations there where we have offices close by in regards to the pharmacies and larcenies. We've had, you know, officers go in, we have people on the floor. When we see a larceny, we make an apprehension. And then after that, it goes down into the court system and, you know, it's dealt with at that level.
Pat, can I ask a question to officer?
Yeah, go ahead.
To piggyback what Pat said, even if the store didn't want to press charges, we don't want to bother with it.
I'm sorry.
Even if the store said, you know, we don't want to bother, which puts you guys in a bind, but then there is video. So can't you request the video to see who the perpetrator is? And then at least you know, you have some idea if you spot him, regardless of whether the place wants to pursue or press charges?
Right. We do, again, we have like our, you know, we have internal emails we send around. We have photos of known larcenists of the area. Some of the guys have made the papers, guys that have hit down here. Ultimately, though, to pursue a criminal charge, we need a complainant. So if like we go to that liquor store and they say, I'm not pressing charge, we can have a photo of the guy, but we can't apprehend him. We can't arrest him because when we tell the DA, if we don't observe it, we need a cooperative complainant.
Would it be observed on
and
the video?
That becomes a bit of a gray, again, generally, you know, that, yeah, we want to have because again, a DA wants to speak to the person who's in charge of that property.
Right.
So if they get told, hey, I'm not moving forward with it, it's, you know, it becomes an uphill battle for us.
I mean, I can understand how the person working at the register doesn't want to press.
Someone has their mic open.
This love reading, we're going to be reviewing.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Officer
Mariama, I
Corrado,
think it's your mic, Mariama.
Officer Corrado, I can understand how somebody might not want to press charges because if the guy doesn't get arrested, then they know that somebody tried to arrest him, and then they come back, and then there's, you know, they're worried about their own safety. So that's, you know, I can understand that side too. That's why I had mentioned,
What
like,
we do, if our officers are on scene, we make it, if our officers are on scene, they'll do a canvas with any, you know, anyone in the store that saw the person. We'll do a canvas, and if our officers find them, they place them under arrest. If they're explicitly told, and our officers have body cameras, and also the encounter is recorded. But if they walk into a store and the guy's like, I don't want to do anything, our officers will try to get them on board. Like, do you want to document it? Do you want to report? If you have someone that just downright says, I'm not doing anything,
Right.
It's kind of hard to get that person over. And we do try because we want our numbers to reflect what's really going on. You know, and if an apprehension could get made, our arrests, I believe Captain Smith had the number and I heard it earlier, our arrests are up tremendously this year.
Mitch, we got to move on to the next person.
thank you.
Put your hand down, please. Elizabeth. Hi.
Hi, thanks. So I just want to clarify because I'm hearing something very different from the officers right now that we're talking to that I'm hearing from people who actually live in this neighborhood. I just know that, crime right now, people are very concerned with it. Whether it's mentally ill people or, whether it's people stealing from CVS's or Dwayne Reed's or anything like that. But so what you're saying is, because this is not what I'm hearing from fellow neighbors and residents and people who live in the city. So what you're saying is people don't want to actually make the arrests, and that's the part of the problem here? Because maybe I'm speaking to people who read the New York Post too much, but essentially people are, part of the real problem in the city is people are petrified of all the sort of the stuff that's going on. They can't walk down their streets. I've spoken to people who live on the Upper West Side being chased by mentally ill people down the street at 8 p.m. at night in the summer night. I just don't, it's very hard for me to really sort of swallow what you're saying, that people don't want to make
Oh, no, I'm
complaints or
not saying people
reports. I
don't want
don't
to take
know if that's
reports.
really what's happening. What?
No, I'm saying people don't want to take reports. I'm saying that one specific incident with the liquor store that Officer Ford was referring to, that our officers did contact. No, more often than not, we are successful in getting people to document reports.
So then what is going on? I really want to understand the situation currently right now. This is the first time I've ever spoken to you personally. We've spoken to other officers in other meetings. And I'm just curious to know what is going on right now in New York City to make people so concerned about the spike in crime and so concerned about, just about living here in general. It's essentially what I'm hearing from people constantly, whether it's downtown, uptown, anywhere. I just want to know, I don't want to get into this very long conversation about it, but I just want your personal perspective on what's happening. Like if you can give me in 1 or 2 sentences.
That's kind of like, it's difficult because my personal opinion is different. Like I'm speaking in uniform, right? So I don't want to speak on behalf of the police department. I can't definitively say what the cause of crime is. What I can tell you is we have seen, and again, it's been documented. There's nothing, a surprise factor, but people are arrested, and it seems like the input I get from the community, and I'm speaking to members of the community every single day. It seems like I've actually heard people say the person is arrested, they're released immediately because homeless, mentally ill,
right?
Most people kind of frequent the same area,
right.
So I'm hearing people say, well, I was like, yeah, he was arrested yesterday, and well, he's back here today. He was arrested. Why is
that happening? So you think this is a DA thing? You think that people are not being prosecuted for crime?
Can I ask a question, Elizabeth, to that, his answer? Sorry to interrupt you, but can I ask a question? So arrested, gets out on bail. What's the conviction rate for these folks?
Again, that's something that we at our community council meeting, I know Sarah's been trying, we're going to try to bring a member of the district attorney's office, an attorney, not just, we do have a person that comes that's a representative of the office, but we want an actual district attorney to come because we have it once and it was pretty successful where he kind of explained the district attorney's view, I believe, on like restorative justice and alternative approaches, not just locking somebody up and throwing away.
So number one, conviction. I guess that's great to hear because I'd like to know what the conviction rate is. Because with bail, basically the only thing that bail does is require someone to, or it's placed to ensure that the person will show back up for the next hearing. That's it. You're innocent until proven guilty. At your bail hearing, there's not guilt or innocence. It's just, we want to give you this much money because we think you're a flight risk. So and either you're going to pay it or you're not. You can't pay it, you stay in jail, or that's why bail has been reformed, I'm putting air quotes, to make it less because there are a lot of people who just couldn't afford the bail. They weren't a flight risk, but they couldn't afford the bail. Not arguing the merits of that. But at the end of the day, even when they're let out, even the mass murderer who's doing it, at the time of arrest, they're innocent until proven guilty. So what is and again, I know you don't have an answer, but I would love to know and to get the answers. What is the conviction rate? If they are doing this alternative ways, like, if they're going to do, don't go to jail, but get them help, whatever it is, you said remediation, different things like that. Does it work?
They're not
mean,
even
you know,
rigged. Justine,
I-
you're kind of hijacking my question.
No, go ahead,
okay?
ask your question, but I did want to ask those
I
questions.
don't understand what you're saying. I mean, let's go before that even for a second, okay? I mean, so officer, you're saying that, Sergeant, you're saying that it's because, so they're being arrested, but they're not even being brought to trial. Is that what you're saying? I mean, forget about conviction for a second, Justine.
Well,
Not,
you're not brought to
what's
trial.
going,
So
what,
you're-
or what's happening then? That I don't, okay, I'm just trying to get to really, really basic answers here of like
No, I
what is
understand.
essentially happening. And I appreciate your candor, by the way, and I appreciate your being very honest with us.
Well, I
because
gotta be honest.
everyone's confused.
I live in the city. I live in the city, so I'm affected by this on a personal level as well as a professional.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I have noticed an uptick in the homeless. And you know what? Honestly, personally, I do have a mixed approach to it, right? Because I have to walk by the mentally ill in my neighborhood the same as everyone else does. I understand it. It is frustrating. It is.
Only to the
People
extent
don't
that
choose-
that some mentally ill people are aggressive and violent and people are afraid
Right,
of them. I mean,
but people.
I'm not
and
talking
the
about
other
all
thing
mentally
is-
ill or all homeless people, just people who
No,
sort of, and
I
for
understand.
whatever reason,
And
that seems to be
officers
increasing
go out.
in people's
Our
minds.
offices go out. Our offices go out daily. They offer services. We do outreaches with the BRC, homeless services, seeing if they want to go into shelters. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, I guess, right? We can't force them to do something they don't want to do. If they're a threat to themselves or others, they're acting erratic, we could certainly send them to the hospital for a psych evaluation. Hospital has a certain, like a minimum hold or a mandatory hold. They can't hold them there indefinitely either. So once kind of the clock ticks, they release them.
So why are
this-
we seeing an uptick in this now versus 3 years ago, let's say? I'm just curious.
Can-
Is it COVID?
Can
I've known.
can I just interject here just for 1 second because I don't need to be as politically correct as the
Thank you,
police. I'll give you in 2018, my daughter was chased by a guy, homeless guy, and scared her. She was 12 at that point. At that point, you were able to call the police and they could come and take him away. Now this can't happen anymore. That's just like to simplify it. And
Depending, Sarah, there are certain circumstances.
you have to prove. Now the burden of proof falls more and more. They have to show if they're coherent, and if they say, oh, I was just running but not after her, but I was doing something else. Now it's just more difficult than before. Right or wrong, when the district
So we have
attorney,
more people that were released from the hospitals.
yeah, and the district attorney, I think some of these things, they might have good intentions, but they just didn't have the infrastructure to deal with it. They passed a bunch of laws, but nobody has the infrastructure to deal with all of the influx of and the help some of these folks need. And that's just
Sarah,
my
the other-
personal.
Sarah and Elizabeth, the other issue is that we keep talking only about homeless people or
No, I'm not just
mentally
talking
ill
about
people.
Right, people don't choose to be.
There are other
no.
criminals out there that are not mentally ill.
No,
And
and I
we
wanted
have
to
an uptick-
clarify that. I mean,
we
clearly
have an
it's not.
uptick in crime that doesn't have anything to do with mentally ill people. That has to do with criminals.
And
Yeah.
why do we see an uptick in that?
I don't
mean,
know
it's
that
a
they
really
can
simple
answer.
it's a simple question. Maybe it's a stupid question, and maybe it's too simple for a simple answer. But
the question probably needs to be researched, because I don't know that I don't know that you're going to get an answer tonight to that question. One thing I'd like to do is hold on you, Elizabeth, for a minute and see. Mariama's had her hand up for a while. See what Mariama wanted to add to the conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, some of you may know, but I have a very good example, unfortunately. The gentleman that was killed 2 weeks ago on the L train, that was my ex-boyfriend. And he was stabbed in the neck. And the person that killed him had previously stabbed someone else. It's not the bail, though. The person had stabbed someone else 2 years prior. He was released on bail and still hadn't been tried. This is what's happening. So it's not just bail, like Justine said, bail really is just to ensure that you return to court. And the majority of people do, in fact, return to court. With that, that's not like people are just on the run. It's that when people are not getting speedy trials and the mental health issues are up, and the homelessness is up because of the pandemic. People lost their jobs, people lost their family providers, right? The earners in their families. People who have been re-traumatized, by different things, and watching people, their family, their friends die of illness that just came suddenly. 1 minute they're here, 1 minute they're gone. And so all of these people are outside. Now, a large number of them moved to neighborhoods like ours, moved to the subway system, somewhere where they could, maybe feel safe or whatever, but they need help. So in the meantime, while they're waiting for that help, we're dealing with an increased amount of crime because we're not processing these people when they are arrested. Had he been tried, convicted, sentenced, he could have been in jail and or a hospital, whichever was appropriate. But he was outside on the street because he never made it to, and that's not the DA issuing bail. That's a problem with the justice system and to a larger degree. And in terms of making reports, similarly, we have people that are mentally ill, that are homeless, that are migrants, right? That are not that their immigration status is in question or they're concerned about it, that are that have historically have maybe not the best relationships with police. And so, to the officer's point, there are some people who do not want to talk to police, even to make a report, even if something happens to them. Some people could be afraid, I go to report something to the police, I'm going to be the one that ends up in jail. Because it happens.
Exactly.
So there's a much larger conversation that needs to be had if we're going to start talking about safety rather than just like going off the rails, like, oh my, and into a panic, because we're being used as political pawns.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what's
clearly it
going
is.
on. It's politics that's happening. It's not real justice.
And also, the police can't answer everything. They're not the ones who
Right.
call them for everything, but they can't answer every problem.
My ex-boyfriend, the way they reported it in the paper was that he was defending police, and that's why the guy got mad at him. He was taunting police officers and this person, and Tommy said to them, said to the guy, like, but man to man, like, what are you doing? Cut it out. And the guy went on to, proceeded to, I guess, get on the train or follow him. I don't know. And that's why he was murdered, according to the papers.
Yeah.
So,
we've got to move on. I don't know that, we're not going to solve this problem tonight. Lucian, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm sorry, that was left up from a while ago.
Okay. So we do have another topic, and it's already 8:45, so I think we should move on. I don't know what to say about the uptick in crime, but we do need to encourage our neighbors and anyone that we know in the community to please report it. And it going on social media just gets everybody in an uproar, but it's not constructive. So I think we need to discourage people if we know them from, putting it out there to social media, because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't help. It just gets everyone more afraid and less inclined to call the police. So that's all I have to say on that. Can we move to the next topic, which we also need you officers for, which is the vendors on the Brooklyn Bridge? Are you prepared to talk to us about that, or is that something we need to hold?
Did anyone from the 8-4 hop on this call? Do we know?
Listen.
If anybody from that precinct is on in the attendee section, if you would raise your hand. I don't see anybody that I recognize. Officer Ford, what's the name of the gentleman?
It was John Kenny is the officer. He wasn't going to be able to hop on, but he was going to try to have someone from his unit jump on. Because he wasn't working today. He's actually off this week, but he's trying to get someone from his office to be on. I don't know if they were successful or not to have somebody, because same thing, they usually work like an earlier shift.
Right.
Have someone on in the evening. I know it's tough sometimes to either pay overtime or reschedule if they had events today.
Yeah. No one's raising their hand. So I don't believe that anyone's on from that.
Okay, so then I suggest that we have just a very, very quick conversation. I'm not sure I understand what the issue is, and so if you are able to explain to us what the issue is on the Brooklyn Bridge, along with Lucian, if you can explain to us the committee what the problem is, and we can mull it over and maybe have this discussion next month.
To be honest with you, if it's not the general merchandise vendors, I'm not sure because I've been out for 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
this
fine.
might have come up since I was out of town.
And Officer Ford, if you're not able to, if it's fine, we can delay.
The general vendors on the bridge isn't technically us, it's the 5th precinct. So the Manhattan side of the bridge is the 5th precinct and the Brooklyn side is the 8-4. But I can tell you that there was a joint operation done last week, unrelated to this. I think it was the Department of Consumer Affairs. I know Captain Smith actually got roped into it, even though it's not his command. He actually got pulled into it. And the borough level, like the bid unit and the borough level that deals with kind of peddlers from the NYPD, all did a joint operation, went over there, and they confiscated. I mean, I can't even tell you how much stuff. I didn't count it. I saw it when they brought it in. I mean, dozens of tables.
Two vans full of stuff we got.
Yeah. Oh, you were out there. That's right. I forgot about that. Right.
2 vans full of stuff, and I mean, we loaded up pretty much the first freeze. We vouched it here. We pretty much loaded up the command. The crazy part, we have to stay on top of it. It's like anything else. I'm going to be reaching out to the bid as well to go, but with them, it's somebody's livelihood, right? So even though we confiscate it, we summons them. I had gone back when I was on my way home. I saw, and they had set up like we hadn't even been there. So we had sent officers there again. I got to find out the results of that, and I'll give you an update. But we have to stay on top of it. We have to monitor it. But it's one of those things that even as soon as you take your foot off the gas a little bit, they kind of come back. It's a way to make a lot of money. A lot of tourists take the Brooklyn Bridge. So that's something we're just going to closely monitor going forward and do more joint ops with the 5th.
Let me ask you a question. So is anyone allowed to vend on the Brooklyn Bridge?
That I would have to get an answer from, I guess, the 8-4 as well as our legal department.
Because I guess that's kind of what we want to know is, we want to get a lay of the land. We want to understand what the issue is. So the issue may just be that these particular vendors don't have a license at all. Or if they have a license, do you need to have a special license to be on the bridge?
Yeah.
Or are you allowed?
There were a couple of issues with that. Again, we had a sergeant from the bid who does this pretty much. This is what he does. He goes out for vendors. I'm not sure if it's citywide, but certainly Manhattan-wide. And they know all the ins and outs. There's certain vendor license that they're disabled veterans. They're allowed to have staff, but they have to be monitoring the kiosk in which they sell. Certain times that doesn't happen, in which case I believe it's a summons and confiscation. Then there are different types of licenses. I'll get more information for that.
Or maybe this person can come to the meeting and explain.
Oh, we could link him on. Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great. If we could...
Vendor rules and regs. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Because I don't know. I'm trying to decide. Time is just crazy. I can't remember if it was after 9/11. Mitch, weren't you along with us when we were doing all of this, vendors that were selling on the streets in front of Century 21 and selling all over Fulton Street? And we also had the Department of Consumer Affairs that was involved. I don't know. A lot of it was, the, what do you call it? The counterfeit pocketbooks, Yeah. And then,
so along that area, also along Canal Street, the counterfeit pocketbooks, I can't really speak to too much on that, only because there is an operation going on that, again, like I said, I really can't speak to about as well, but it seems to be going more for the source versus just the seller.
Right. And Officer Corrado, and it's exploding on Broadway, 1 or 2 blocks south of Canal. It's exploded over the last couple of months.
We've sent I've done ops too. We've done quite a few ops with the business recovery district. We go in, we have the experts come in because in order to do one of these ops, we can't just go out and grab them because you have to be trained to know it's counterfeit.
Right.
We all know it's counterfeit.
Of course.
You can't buy a Louis Vuitton on Canal Street for $40. In order to actually take it and certify that it's counterfeit, you have to be trained in it. So we bring experts in. I believe they come in from Long Island, I believe. and they come in, they tell us what's what's good to go. They, so we do these joint ops. We like doing them. We have kind of slowed down a little bit only with what's going on a larger scale, but we keep up a presence there. We kind of tell them, clean it up a bit when we can, just because sometimes I agree, it gets out of control where you can't even cross the sidewalk.
It's been like that the last
Getting back
month or
to,
so.
I'm sorry, Mitch, getting back to the Brooklyn Bridge though, now that we've gotten the bicycles off of the pathway, it's given more room for the guys to go out there and ladies to go out and sell stuff. So yeah, if we could get specifics on who is allowed, who isn't allowed, that would be great.
You got it.
Move this conversation along because I want to get us off.
Can I please speak, Pat?
Yeah, well, hold on. Jimmy was first, and then Betty, and then I saw another hand. Justine.
It was mine, I think, but I had taken it down when I thought you were going to end the.
Oh,
whatever.
Jimmy, did you want to say something?
That's okay. Betty can speak. It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, go ahead, Betty.
Oh, order doesn't matter to me. I just want to say I was one of the people who brought this up, and I brought up the issue because I've been getting complaints via the Transportation Committee, I guess is why I get them for the Brooklyn Bridge. But in fact, when I've gone over there to look, it is so bad. It's not just who sells, but how many are allowed to sell at a given time. And I can't believe they're allowed now on both sides of the entryway. I mean, I couldn't with my scooter even get through between the tables. And people are just reaching over and grabbing at me as I tried to get on access onto the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, this was just completely being harassed. So what they were selling or not was not my issue. My issue was they had no right to manhandle, to scream, to belittle everybody who was there. It was just plain intimidating, and they've taken over the whole space.
And this is on the Manhattan side.
Yes, this is coming right by 1 Center Street.
Okay. All right, good, Betty. So officers, you've heard that. Justine, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something? You're on mute, Justine.
I'm sorry. I was wondering if they were licensed or permitted to be there, but we don't know. But that's something you're looking into. So that's when I took my hand
Yeah,
down.
gotta try to find
Yeah,
that out.
Betty has a point. That's disturbing if you can't get through. I haven't walked it lately, but yeah, knowing I would imagine if they are permitted, they would control the amount of people.
Also, where they could be located. I mean,
Yeah.
again, vendors
So-
they have licenses, and they can only be in very specific places. And, they can't put their stuff on the ground. It has to be on a table and blah, 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 blah. So all of these rules and regs we would like to know. Because
It
if
would
no
make-
one's supposed to be on the Brooklyn Bridge, then they all should be arrested.
They should all, well, yeah, they should all be forced off and told to get off. But it also is a livelihood for these folks, so I don't
and I
mind them
understand
there
that.
if it's controlled. If it's
But they need
controlled,
to obey the rules and regulations like we have to obey rules. and
yeah,
regulations.
exactly. And there you go.
Yeah. All right. So
Thank you.
if any other discussion about
turn them on.
Brooklyn Bridge, anything else you'd like to ask our officers or tell our officers, anything that's happened in the neighborhood you'd like to report about?
I can tell you real quick, going back to the vendors. Like I said, it is the 5th precinct side. Not saying we ignore it. We do our joint operations over there with the 5th, with the borough units. On our side, though, does tow their cars a lot. They'll park in spots where they're not supposed to park. They'll park in the New York Crest parking. They'll park literally on like the little triangles where the paint is. And Captain Smith loves to go by, and that's it. You don't want to park there and leave your car there all day? Well, now we're going to take it and tow it. You got to go to the tow pound and get it. So he is trying to manage it, at least on our side, where they like to park all over the place. He does tow their cars frequently
Good.
to try to
Are we
keep them.
able to get a map of the jurisdictions? Because the bridge is south of One Police Plaza. It's weird that could be the 5th and not the 1st, because I'm south of the bridge and I'm the 1st. So is there a map that we could, I don't know, go online and get, or that you're able to provide where we could see
I believe
what
we
precinct handles what part of the area?
I can find that. Yeah, I can see if I get any.
Give me 2 minutes.
Nope, we're getting some.
I think Lucian has the maps. Like
Yeah, I think Lucian's getting it. Thank you.
And Jimmy, you have your hand up now.
Quick, I thank the officer being here tonight, 2 of them, which is great. First thing is, there's a Cadillac that's been on Lake Street for over a month now with a boot on it, and then because we're sitting at when the traffic come out of the tunnel, they have to merge over there. like, because that car is at the wrong side of the street, right? It's been there for like a month. There's food on it.
There
So
from
it looks abandoned.
where is it? Late and where?
Late and Hudson.
Late and Hudson. Okay.
Yes.
And
Right
what
at the
co-
corner. So you see how when the traffic come out of Holland Tunnel, so then they have to merge into one lane
What
because
color is
that,
it, Jimmy?
part of the boot. Yes.
What color
What's-
is the car?
I don't know. Hold on. I think it's silver. I mean,
You're still in the hospital.
no, I'm not. I'm in my office, but right there. And then second of all, no, honestly, like let us know how we can help because you guys have so much to do. You know.
No, I'm gonna send.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send all there between
Yeah.
today and tomorrow. See about if the vehicle's there for a while and
You
if they
see
get
it?
summons and we can clear up the problem right away for
Can
you.
you see what color it is, Jimmy? Yep, he's giving you a tour. He's walking right over to it. The other thing we need, while Jimmy's walking over to it, the other thing is any
Right.
anything happened with the Holland Tunnel and the residents that came to complain about all the traffic, how crazy it is? Well, I'm sorry, Jimmy's there. What color is it, Jimmy?
It's gold. It's not the prettiest color.
Do you have are you close enough to see the license plate number?
Yeah. Sure. I'll send an email to Officer Ford, so not take up too much time.
Fantastic. And then Frank,
But
if
you guys have so much to do. I totally understand. So okay.
I'll send it to Sergeant Corrado once I get it.
No
I was
problem.
just gonna say, Frank, if you're gonna include me in the NCOs, we'll get that taken care
Yeah,
of.
it's kind of like the broken window situation, right? If that car's been in there for a month, right? It's just one of those things, right? Gradually the city, right.
When you see something like that more than like a week, please feel free. Call Frank, call myself. My information's on the NYPD website.
Right.
I'm kind of glued to the desk. So, please, if I could send officers to respond to something, we address it a lot quicker.
No, but let us know how we can help because this the crime and the homelessness, we have to do something about it.
You guys are like the eyes and ears. If you see somebody acting erratic, if you see somebody, call 911. Obviously your safety is paramount. I wouldn't engage somebody certainly with a weapon or an item that they would hit you with. But if you see somebody acting erratic, please call 911. We don't get
I
paid.
understand, but
we don't
how
get
can we
paid.
help you guys to get more resources to you guys?
Well, I think that's a department-wide issue.
Like
Trust
budget,
me.
yeah.
That seems to be, but we are doing more with less. Like I said, our arrest activity is up, our summons activity. So we are doing more with less. We'd always appreciate more. If anybody has any connections and can get us more resources, by all means, I'm not going to stop you.
Well, I was at the Bloomberg philanthropy yesterday, but he's not the mayor anymore. So
he could probably still make a phone call though.
He could
I'll
he could
try.
contribute some money. But
I'll
anyway, we need to move on. Thanks, Jimmy,
Okay.
for that information. Send the email.
Thank you. We'll get it taken care of for you.
And there was someone else who was saying something. Was it you, Mariama? Oh, you wanted the map. Do we need to have the officers here, Mariama? Are you frozen? Okay. Can we let?
Yes. Thank you, officers, for being here.
Okay, so I can't thank you enough for taking your evening, both of you, to be here to help us understand some of these issues and for listening to us. It's really fantastic that you engage with us. I think we've lost Sarah. Oh no, Sarah's still here. Thank you, Sarah, I know your evening is precious. So the three of you, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I hate to be a nudge, but I'd ask
Okay,
you
bye.
again if we can get the person who will explain to us about the vending on the bridge. And then we're going to try to reach out to the 84th precinct and hopefully take this topic up again for next month. And feel free, if you'd like to come next month or anytime you'd like to come and visit us. If you let us know you're coming, we'll try to move you up to the top of the agenda so you can get in and out, rather quickly.
Got it. Like I said, everyone on the call, my information is on the NYPD website. It's michaelcommonspelling.corrado, CORRADO @nypd.org. If there's anything you guys need, please email me. I try to get things addressed quicker, or as quick as we can. And that's kind of it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sarah, we'll
Okay.
talk.
Okay, and please join us on our community council meeting, and hopefully we'll have
You're gonna
some-
try to make a hybrid meeting so that people will be able to
Yeah.
join, even if they can't physically be in the
Yeah.
room. So Sarah will get back to us about that. And when's the
Exactly.
next meeting? Thursday?
The next, no, it's because of conflicting, and we'll send it around. It's going, I emailed you. It's going to be Wednesday, November 2nd. That will be instead of the 27th of, the 27th of October, it's going to be Wednesday, the 2nd of November
6 o'clock?
at 6 o'clock. Yes, and Lucian, we'll talk tomorrow and we'll make it work.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Good night, thank you. So committee, we've got things that we've gotta get on with for next month, so we're gonna try to see, oh, meanwhile, the map. Mariama, you wanted to see the map? Or,
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to take up the committee's time with it, but I wanted to get an understanding, because I live basically like across the street from One Police Plaza or down, down the block, right? And the bridge sort of separates us, right?
Yeah.
And
So
it's part.
yeah, the line. So might be a little.
but it may not be a geographic thing, it may be somehow.
So the fifth precinct, the first precinct cuts over. So it's above City Hall Park. It's the east side of Broadway, and then kind of south of the Brooklyn Bridge is first precinct. So I'm saying north of the Brooklyn Bridge, east of Broadway is the fifth precinct.
Okay.
Well,
I'll give you another map. This is the precinct map of all the precincts.
So
thought
at the
I had
Civic
heard
Center, it
that-
like cuts over into Chatham is what it looks like. Is that right? At the Civic Center? Yeah.
but we'll try to get somebody from the fifth
Okay.
precinct to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a little chat with the fifth precinct. They came to my district service cabinet on Tuesday and gave me some updates. I told them that we were going to follow up and talk to them some more. And Lucy and I are going to try to rope them into the next meeting.
Okay,
I'd like for them to be a more consistent presence.
Yeah. Okay.
Question, we're the first precinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then where's 5? That's what
Most
we're
of our district is in the first.
Mine's in Chinatown. That's why I was
Oh,
confused.
That's what I was
because
asking. It's like next to us that way.
I
That's
live
weird.
I live like right next to the
Yeah.
like adjacent to the bridge. I live on Gold Street, and I'm the first. So that's
Yeah.
why I was confused
Right,
as to why
right.
the
Has her
bridge
hand
was
up.
the fifth.
Like the courts, whatever portion we have of Chinatown, 1 Center Street is all fifth precinct.
Okay. So Francis, what did you?
I thought I had heard at a meeting that the Brooklyn and the Brooklyn precinct said that they take care of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah, 84th.
So on the
Right.
Brooklyn side, they meet in the middle. The fifth precinct.
No,
they said the
they have
bridge- no. They said the
whole
bridge was
bridge.
theirs. They
It
don't
used
meet
to
anywhere. They,
be-
Oh, so wait a
Yeah.
minute. The Brooklyn side takes care of the whole bridge?
yes.
Yes. It
Yeah.
used to be half and half.
So if the 84th precinct takes care of the whole bridge, why do we need to deal with the fifth precinct?
Well, the fifth precinct covers like the kind of beginning of the ramp. So I think there may be vendors technically.
Daddy had the
in
trouble
it,
getting on.
But the liaising with the 84th is best done through our precincts because this is the challenge with the administrative boundaries. It's like Marble Hill is Manhattan, but it's actually in the Bronx, and it has the Manhattan Borough President, but they are in a Bronx community board. So like administratively, these things sometimes are just like weird and are very difficult to deal with.
All right, so then let's see if we can get the 84th and the 5th to come and discuss with us. Now, Jill, just before we go, Jill had some issues, and I guess Mariama too, about the World Trade Center number 5 and housing. Jill, just quickly, so we can.
Mine is healthcare. Jill's is housing.
Yep.
But I'm here if she needs me on housing.
We're not gonna have a discussion, but we can bring it up next month. But Jill, just tell us
All right, just quickly, 5 World Trade Center, the agencies put out some amendments and proposals to vote on, but they really had never presented it to the community board. They would put an end basically to any negotiations for more community space, for affordable housing. It would sign the lease and the deal with Silverstein at 10,000 square foot community space. Part of the proposals was to override all the city zoning, which they have the right to do, and they would vote to go ahead with that. My understanding is that the chairman of the community board will be drafting a letter requiring more time and for them to explain this in greater detail. They did the comment period during the Jewish holidays, high holiday season, where there were 4 Jewish holidays, some of them multiple days. So the whole thing just wasn't right. Quickly, the second item was that I would like to put forward for consideration, inviting someone to explain some aspects of applying for affordable housing as a benefit to this community. One thing I've learned is that there's asset requirements. This is particularly hard on retired people. You have to have below a certain amount of assets. So even if your income falls within the eligible area, and I'm not talking about 5 World Trade Center, I'm talking about applying in general. You're retired, you've worked your whole life, and you've saved $150,000. You're not eligible because you have too many assets. And there's certain other aspects, and they don't really publicize the asset aspect of it. Certain some of that assets exempt if it's in a 401k, but there's a lot of rules and it's very unclear and they really don't publicize that. So if everyone is in agreement, I would love to have somebody from
Well, let's
Connect.
you and Mariama and I and Lucian have a conversation and see who we need to get in and what we need to do. Thanks, Jill. Mariama, you said yours was health.
Yeah, mine is health. There's a critical issue with the World Trade Center healthcare program. So not the VCF, not the Victims Compensation Fund, specifically the healthcare program. Currently,
Dr. Reisman?
Approximately 120,000 people actively participating in the program, being treated by the program. And the healthcare, not only of those people, but of any future people is in jeopardy right now if we don't get $3 billion put into the fund right away. And what's happened is when Zadroga was reauthorized back in, 2016, it was extended to the year 2090. The instances of cancer and other serious illnesses was like grossly underestimated. And so not enough money was put in. The money that they expected to last through 2090 is running out already and will have been depleted by 2024 at the latest if we don't get this additional $3 billion in. So on Sunday, 9/11, I was with Chuck Schumer and John Field of the Feel Good Foundation and a couple of responders at a press conference where the majority leader was promising to get this done by the end of the year. But since then, other things have happened where, this bill hasn't passed. And it's been needing to pass for a long time. It was originally included in Build Back Better, which we know what happened with that, and reintroduced separately. So now the urgency is that this must pass by the end of the year, or it may not. And if it does not, what that would mean is people who try to apply to the program, which could be you, I'm already in the program, but it could be any one of us basically, apply to the program after 2024, will not be able to be accepted in because there will be no money to treat them.
I'm sorry.
People who have cancer will cease to get the treatment, or could cease to get the treatments that they are needing because there will be no more money.
Let me ask you a couple. So I thought you had to already have applied. No, there wasn't a deadline.
No. We have through 2090. So God forbid, 50 years from now, right? You come down with something. you can still apply and be certified if the money is there. So it's like the program has been extended, the funds are not there to meet the need.
The next thing is, I thought Congressman Nadler was also involved in this.
Congressman Nadler is a co-sponsor of the bill, but at this point, because it needs to pass both, the Congress and the Senate, the House and the Senate, it's up to Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to get these things done at this point. Like, that's what I'm saying. This is like a critical juncture, like seriously critical.
Okay.
So we need to do a resolution that I understand we cannot do tonight. But as soon as we're able to, we need to do a resolution.
Okay, does this have to be done before next
urging
month?
the speaker, and I think it needs to be done before this month. I mean, before next month. I think we need to do it as new business at the full board if we're allowed to.
Well, listen, that's
Because
the question you can answer.
it's severely time sensitive. This needs to pass by the lame duck session, or people, like I said, at least 120,000 people are screwed, and
Okay,
the
hold on.
number grows
Lucian?
every day.
Let's get it. Let's see if we have an answer. Is this something we can put into new business? Is that where it best belongs?
New business in the full board meeting. This is a pretty simple thing, and I don't suspect that there's a need for like a lot of like a hearing for it. That seems to be pretty straightforward. I don't think that Tammy would
Object.
object. So yeah. So I mean you have to ask her though. I mean, ultimately it's up to her.
Okay, so
I've drafted some potential language that if Tammy deems it appropriate, I will ask that she send it around, or have the office send it around, or allow me to send it around so that people can look at it in advance of the meeting. And then of course,
do you want to have a quick conversation with Tammy tomorrow on the phone, Miriam?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Mariam, send me all the language, because we need to put it more than
I sent an email.
We'll have to
I sent an
format
email,
it. Okay.
during the other meeting, so you probably didn't get to see it yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Mariam, I'm happy to
And
help.
then
If I
really
could-
quickly, yeah, Justine, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I'm happy to help draft the language. I'm happy to do anything. I have a couple of questions too, but I'm happy to jump in, and I'm free tomorrow. So if you need to, I'm happy to jump on it.
Well, do you
Because
want to post the
maybe
questions
if
now so
Tammy
that-
says no new business at the full board, maybe she'll say new business, quick discussion at exec tomorrow night.
Okay, but no, nothing at exec tomorrow because it's already. But let me ask you, Justine, really quickly, what are your questions?
So my question to you, Mariama, is basically, is this funding drying out for both the survivors and the families? I mean, I know they're all survivors, but you know how there's always the kind of the two classes of groups?
Well, this is
Responders.
Responders, yeah, thank you. Help me with the language. Responders.
Yeah, so
and
there is language about victims' families as well. Sadly, that language is outdated at this point, because victims' families are no longer those who lost their family members, exclusively those who lost their family members on 9/11. Victims' families extends to many of us at this point who've lost our family members, Pat and I included, right?
Yes.
So,
Jill.
so that's language that I would like to see us removed from the conversation, actually. But yes, to answer your question, survivors and responders are both impacted by this. Which is why John Field of the Fielder Foundation is also doing having the same conversations that I'm having with you right now.
Okay, that makes sense, and that gives me more hope that because we're united in the fight, and we're not. Yeah, that's
All
a
right.
good
Any
thing.
other question, Justine?
No.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for Mariama? Okay, so next month we're putting Jill on for next month. Mariama is going to try to do language. We'll have a quick call tomorrow, and then we're going to try to have this in new business at the full board meeting. I guess next Tuesday or Tuesday after next. Anything else anyone needs to bring up? Urgent business? As always, I love my committee. Thank you all so much. You're great. You're really engaged and really interested and ask great questions. Thank you. I know it's late, so thank you all. I will see you, some of you executive tomorrow. You know, everybody's welcome to come to executive committee meeting, and the rest of you at the full board meeting. Thank you.
Love you
Thank
too,
you.
Pat.
Bye, everybody. Sorry, my hand was up. Have a good night.
Everybody have a great